Keep listening to English every single day helps improve your understanding and speaking naturally. It trains your ears to recognize words, sounds, and phrases. Daily practice builds confidence, vocabulary, and fluency. Stay patient and consistent. The more you listen, the more confident you'll become in speaking and understanding English fluently. I will look back and realize that the moment that broke me also built me. Life doesn't warn us before it breaks us. One day, everything feels normal, and the next, the world shifts beneath our feet. For me, the moment that broke me came silently and suddenly. Whether it was a loss, a betrayal, or a dream that disappeared overnight, I was left staring at the pieces of a life I thought I'd figured out. In those early days, I couldn't see anything but pain. But now, as I continued to grow, I realized that breaking point was not the end. It was the beginning of something better. It's easy to talk about healing once time has passed. But when you're in it, when your heart is heavy, when you wake up with a lump in your throat, when everything feels like too much, it's hard to believe that anything good could ever come from your pain. I remember feeling like a failure. I questioned every decision, every step I had taken. I blamed myself, thinking if only I had done things differently, maybe I wouldn't have ended up in so much pain. But slowly, day by day, I started to rebuild. Not because I was suddenly brave or wise, but because life doesn't stop. And even when I didn't feel ready, the world kept turning, and I kept moving with it. There were tiny wins, moments where I smiled, laughed again, breathed a little easier. Those small things mattered. They were signs of life, of healing beginning in the quiet places of my heart. That experience taught me the power of patience, with life and with myself. We often want to heal quickly, to be okay again overnight. But real healing takes time. It's not linear. Some days I felt strong, and other days I felt like I was back at square one. But I learned that even on my weakest days, progress was being made. My emotions were not setbacks, they were steps. Looking back, I see how that painful moment forced me to grow in ways I never would have otherwise. I became more self-aware. I began listening to my needs instead of ignoring them. I set boundaries I had once been too afraid to set. I walked away from situations that didn't value me because I had finally realized my worth. I also learned the importance of self-love. Before the pain, I was always looking for validation from others. I needed praise, attention, and approval to feel good about myself. But when I was broken, those things weren't there. I had to become my own cheerleader. I had to remind myself that I was enough, even if no one else said it. And slowly, I started to believe it. There's something sacred about rebuilding yourself from the ground up. You get to choose what stays and what goes. You get to create a version of yourself that's more authentic, more in tune with your soul. I started living more intentionally. I let go of old habits and beliefs that no longer served me. I welcomed new ideas, new goals, new possibilities. I also discovered my voice. Pain made me speak up. It gave me the courage to say, "This hurts," or "I need help," or "I deserve more than this." Before, I would have stayed silent, afraid to rock the boat. But being broken removed the fear of losing things because I had already lost something precious. What more could I fear? Through that journey, I found deeper connections with others. Vulnerability has a way of opening doors. When I shared my story, others opened up too. I realized I wasn't alone. Everyone is fighting something. And that shared humanity became a source of comfort. I no longer felt isolated in my struggle. I felt seen, understood, and supported. As I continue to reflect, I recognize the beauty in brokenness. It's not about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about acknowledging it, respecting it, and allowing it to reshape you. Some of the strongest people I know carry scars, not because they were weak, but because they fought hard battles and survived. Scars are proof that healing is possible. That moment that broke me also lit a fire inside me. It pushed me to chase my goals with more urgency. It reminded me that life is fragile and time is limited. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started creating my own. I pursued dreams I had once buried. I took risks. I spoke my truth. I gave myself permission to be bold. Perhaps the most powerful realization is this: I am not who I was before the pain. I'm someone new, someone wiser, someone softer, yet stronger, someone who knows what it means to lose and still keep loving, someone who's been broken but is no longer afraid of breaking. If I could go back and talk to my past self, the version of me lying in bed, crying in silence, feeling hopeless, I would hold her hand and say, "You're going to be okay. You don't see it now, but this pain is making room for something better. You're not weak for hurting. You're human. And one day, you'll be proud of how you carried yourself through this storm." I know that more hard moments will come. That's the nature of life. But now I face them with a different mindset. I know that pain is not the end of the story. It's part of the story. I have evidence from my own life that I can rise from the ashes. And that knowledge is a powerful gift. So yes, I will look back and realize that the moment that broke me also built me. Not in spite of the pain, but because of it. That moment stripped me of everything false and left only what was real. And from there, I began again, stronger, braver, and more alive than ever. It's not easy to be grateful for pain, but I am. Because it was the crack in my life that let the light in. It was the fire that refined me. It was the storm that tested me, and I came out with wings. Now I know that even in darkness, there's a path. Even in silence, there's healing. Even in breaking, there's building. And when I look back, I won't just see the pain. I'll see the strength. I'll see the growth. I'll see the rise. And I'll know that moment didn't destroy me. It transformed me. There is something profoundly powerful in knowing that even my worst moments had purpose. Not because I deserve to suffer, not because pain is easy to bear, but because what broke me taught me how to rebuild with intention, wisdom, and courage. When I reflect on that breaking point in my life, that deep moment of despair where I felt lost, abandoned, or entirely undone, I can now say with quiet certainty, that moment made me who I am. I didn't always believe this. In the beginning, I felt like I had been defeated. My spirit was crushed. I would go through my days with a heavy heart, smiling on the outside while struggling internally to keep it together. The world kept spinning, but I felt stuck. I watched people move on, live freely, laugh loudly, while I was trapped inside the invisible cage of pain. Yet even then, change was happening. Every tear I cried was not wasted. Every sleepless night taught me something about what I value. Every ache of the heart pushed me toward deeper reflection. And with each sunrise, though my wounds remained, something small and quiet began to grow inside me. Resilience. Resilience does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it shows up not as a giant leap, but as a single breath, the decision to get out of bed, to speak kindly to myself, to try again when everything inside me wanted to give up. That's the beauty of being broken. The rebuilding may be slow, but it's real. It's honest. And it's mine. During that season of rebuilding, I discovered who I truly was beneath the noise. I uncovered dreams I had buried, talents I had ignored, and fears I needed to face. I realized I had been living part of my life trying to please others, chasing approval, or staying quiet to keep the peace. But pain has a way of clearing out all the lies. It forces you to strip off your masks. It invites you to be authentic. I learned to sit with myself, fully, honestly, sometimes uncomfortably. I began to journal. I wrote about my fears, my sadness, my hopes. I started asking myself meaningful questions. What do I really want? What kind of life do I want to live? What brings me peace? These questions became the compass for a new journey, one rooted in truth. And slowly, I began to rise. I did not rise like a phoenix in a flash of fire, but like a seed pushing through the dirt toward sunlight. Quietly, steadily, with every step, I was becoming. I began to see how important it is to embrace both joy and sorrow. Before, I thought life was about avoiding pain. Now I see that life is about embracing the full spectrum of emotions, feeling deeply, even when it hurts because it means I'm alive. My tears had meaning. My silence had depth. My pain had wisdom. I stopped apologizing for my feelings. I started honoring them. I gave myself space to feel without judgment. And in doing so, I began to heal. The version of me that once hid behind smiles was now learning to live openly, honestly, and with heart. From that broken place, I also found purpose. I realized I wasn't alone in my pain. So many others were silently struggling. And I wanted to be a light, even a small one, in someone else's darkness. I began sharing my story, offering hope to others, letting them know that healing is possible. That even after loss, even after failure, even after heartbreak, we can grow again. That gave my pain meaning. It turned my wounds into wisdom. It made my story a bridge to connect with others. I stopped seeing my brokenness as shameful and started seeing it as sacred. My scars are not signs of weakness, they are proof that I survived. They remind me of how far I've come. The moment that broke me also taught me how to let go. Letting go of what hurt me. Letting go of the past. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of the idea that I had to be perfect. I began forgiving, not just others, but also myself. That forgiveness freed me. It allowed me to move forward with a lighter heart. I started choosing peace over perfection. I stopped chasing things that drained me. I began making space for what truly nourished me: meaningful conversations, creative expression, stillness, laughter, self-care. I started creating a life that felt right for me, not one designed to impress others. Even my relationship with failure changed. What once felt like a dead end, I now saw as redirection. Life wasn't punishing me, it was guiding me. Every door that closed led me to another one I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. I realized that sometimes, the worst things that happen to us are the things that lead us exactly where we need to be. Now, I trust the process of life more. I no longer panic when things fall apart. I know that breaking is part of becoming. I know that endings often make room for beginnings. I know that pain doesn't last forever, but the lessons it leaves behind do. The moment that broke me became the foundation for a life filled with more compassion, purpose, authenticity, and strength. I wouldn't wish for that pain again, but I wouldn't trade who I've become because of it. It taught me to be gentle with myself. It taught me that growth is messy but beautiful. It taught me that healing is not about going back to who I was, it's about becoming someone new. And so, when I look back, years from now, decades even, I won't remember just the pain. I'll remember the transformation. I'll remember how I rose, how I kept going, how I created something beautiful from something broken. And that, perhaps, is the greatest triumph of all. As I continue to reflect on the moment that broke me, the moment that seemed to shatter everything I believed, everything I thought I needed, everything I thought I was, I realized that there was something happening beneath the surface, even when I couldn't see it. Even when I felt like I had nothing left inside of me, something deeper was forming, a new sense of self. At first, that breaking moment felt cruel. It felt like life had singled me out to suffer, like everything had collapsed for no reason. I lost trust. I lost direction. I asked questions that had no answers. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? How do I move forward when I can't even stand? I used to think that heartbreak only came from romantic loss. But I learned that a person can be broken in many ways, through disappointment, betrayal, failure, illness, rejection, or sudden change. I discovered that grief is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it hides behind a smile. Sometimes it walks with you every day, and no one else even notices. But something beautiful happens when we're forced to slow down. When we no longer have the strength to keep performing, pretending, or pushing through. That's when we're forced to be honest. I had to admit to myself that I wasn't okay. And that was the beginning of healing. Admitting I was broken was not a sign of weakness, it was a sign of truth. It meant I was brave enough to face the darkness. Brave enough to sit with my emotions instead of running from them. Brave enough to let my guard down and ask for help. In those dark days, the people who truly cared revealed themselves. Some stayed close, even when I was hard to be around. Some gently reminded me that I was loved, even when I didn't feel lovable. And some walked away. That hurt too. But even that was a lesson. I began to see which connections were real and which ones were built on convenience. Losing people, things, or dreams can make us question our worth. But slowly, I began to separate my value from my circumstances. I wasn't broken because I failed. I wasn't worthless because someone left. I wasn't unlovable because I was hurting. My value was still intact, buried maybe, but still there. I just had to uncover it again. So I started to rebuild, not all at once. Not in some magical transformation, but little by little. I did small things. I went for walks. I listened to music that comforted me. I talked to people who understood. I read books that made me feel seen. I journaled when the thoughts were too heavy to carry alone. These small actions became my lifeline. And as I did this, something shifted. I began to understand the difference between being broken and being open. That moment that broke me had opened me, too. Opened my eyes, my heart, my understanding. I became more compassionate, more grounded, more real. I no longer saw life in black and white. I saw the gray. I understood that people are complicated. That healing doesn't follow a schedule. That growth can be silent. That strength doesn't always look strong. That peace can come after pain. And that joy, when it returns, feels even sweeter because of the sorrow that came before it. I learned that part of building a new life means letting go of the old one. That's not easy. Sometimes we hold on to the past, not because it serves us, but because it's familiar. Letting go felt like losing a part of myself. But eventually, I realized I wasn't losing myself. I was finding the version of me that had been waiting all along. That version of me is more courageous. She doesn't chase validation. She knows her worth. She speaks her truth. She rests when she's tired. She doesn't fear being misunderstood. She understands that not everyone will walk with her, and that's okay. The right people will. I stopped needing my life to be perfect. I embraced imperfection as part of the journey. I found beauty in the cracks, like the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The idea is that the object is more beautiful because it was broken. I realized I could be the same. I began to appreciate the simple things more. A sunny day, a kind word, a deep breath. I no longer rush through life, always searching for the next big thing. I learned to be present, to savor moments, to enjoy the now. And I also became more intentional. I made decisions based on love, not fear. I stopped saying yes when I meant no. I stopped tolerating things that made me feel small. I started honoring my intuition. I began building a life that reflected who I truly am, not who the world told me to be. That moment that broke me taught me to stand tall, even when my voice trembled. It taught me to start over, even when I didn't know how. It taught me to believe in myself, even when the road ahead was uncertain. It taught me that falling apart is not the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of becoming whole. It also taught me not to judge others for where they are in their journey. Everyone has their own breaking points. Everyone has their own silent battles. I stopped comparing my path to others. I began celebrating progress over perfection. I began encouraging others, not just with words, but with presence. Sometimes just sitting with someone in their pain is the greatest gift we can offer. Now, I carry my past with gratitude, not because it was easy, but because it shaped me. It deepened my soul. It taught me to love more fiercely, to live more fully, to dream more boldly. One day, when I look back on my life, I will remember that breaking moment, not as a tragedy, but as a turning point. The day everything fell apart was also the day everything began to come together. And I will smile with peace in my heart, knowing that the version of me standing tall, wise, kind, and whole was born from the ashes of who I used to be. Yes, the moment broke me, but it also built me, beautifully, completely, and forever.